So today what we wanted to do is we wanted to give you some basic information about what happens when someone passes away and how you can handle things like real estate and the personal property. So I wanted to start off by talking about what probate is. Someone in the room may have already gone through the probate process with someone that you love. So we wanted to talk about what that means. So probate is just the process by which when someone passes away, assets that are going through the will. So anything with a beneficiary designation, anything with a joint owner doesn't go through probate. Probate is designed to help distribute assets through the last will and testament. So that's just the process by which someone gets appointed as the personal representative or the executor and then has the authority to distribute the assets according to the will. Right now, and we're hoping even after the pandemic wraps up, that we'll be able to continue to do virtual probates. That's been really nice. We can have the client into our office, or even if they want to be at home, and we can have the courthouse ladies. They've been really accommodating and very gracious, and they'll get on their computer, and we're able to actually get the personal representative sworn in through virtual means. So we don't actually have to go up to the courthouse right now. So we're hoping that continues even after this, because it's been really helpful. And it doesn't take long. I think, Tammy, maybe 10 minutes is all the time that we're on with the courthouse. So it's not a long process. So without a will, if there's no beneficiary designation, it goes through intestate means. So that just means that somebody didn't go ahead and plan before, and so Pennsylvania is going to impose their own will, if you will, on this person, and you're stuck with whatever they want or how they want to distribute the assets. So it's really important to have a will. So once the will is admitted into probate, somebody gets sworn in, and then you do things like advertise, file an inheritance tax return if one is needed. So that's kind of the whole process of probate. So it sounds really intimidating, but in reality, it's just the process by which the executor distributes assets, okay? Has anybody been through the probate process as an executor? Do we have anybody? Okay. How would you rate it, Body? Is it really difficult to do? Okay. So it seems kind of overwhelming and scary, but I think once you're actually going through the process, as long as you know what you're doing, you have the right information, you can get through it pretty easily. So now we want to talk about what is the probate estate. So there are a couple of things that are not the probate estate. So anything with a beneficiary designation. So if you have retirement, life insurance, anything like that, we always recommend that you designate a beneficiary, because if you designate a beneficiary, when you pass away, your assets automatically go to the designated beneficiary, and it doesn't have to go through the probate process. So I know there are some attorneys who might feel, well, we want to name the estate, because they might say, well, there's going to be real estate in the estate and we want some money to be able to pay taxes and expenses. And we take a little bit different approach. So our goal is to designate beneficiaries where we're able to do that. The reason we want to do that is because if you don't designate a beneficiary, or if you designate your estate and for whatever reason you pass away and you're in a nursing facility, the Department of Human Services, which is the organization that administers long-term care in Pennsylvania, they will come back and recover against your estate. So to the extent you can designate a beneficiary, it's always really helpful, so that you can make sure it gets done quickly, efficiently, and you don't have that estate recovery lien concern. So we always recommend there be a beneficiary designated. Another way you can avoid probate is if you have a joint owner. So a lot of times with spouses, it's husband and wife, and when one spouse dies, by law, it automatically goes to the surviving spouse. So there may be nothing that needs to be done at that point, okay? That works the same if it's a sibling that's on the account or if it's a child that's on the account. It will automatically pass to that joint owner. And then lastly, you can also do a transfer on death or a pay on death designation for things like investment accounts, or you can also do a trust and transfer the assets to a trust, and that would avoid the probate process, okay? So probate is going to be anything where you don't have a joint ownership, where you don't have a beneficiary designation, or where it's not owned in a trust, and the trust funded prior to death. One thing I will say too about probate that I think a lot of attorneys don't like to talk about is that when probate is involved, usually the attorney's fees are more as well. So in Pennsylvania, there's an estate that they base this on. It's a court case. It's called the Johnson estate, and that actually allows the attorney to charge a percentage based on whether it goes through probate or non-probate. So another reason that you might want to avoid probate is to reduce attorney's fees as well, okay? Notices are a requirement in probate. That just means you have to send notification to the beneficiaries under the will to let them know that they are a designated beneficiary under the will. That would be even if there are no assets that are going to go to that individual. So maybe the estate is insolvent, whether it be there's some credit card debt or somebody's in a nursing home, the individuals still have to receive a notice. Okay, so that's one of the things that you have to do as part of the probate process. You also have to advertise. And a lot of times we get the question, why do you have to advertise? And in Pennsylvania, you have to advertise in a legal journal and in a paper of general circulation for 3 weeks. And you have to do that because 1 year from the date of the first advertisement, creditors are barred from coming against the estate. So that would be why you would advertise, okay? So that's part of the probate process as well. We also send one to the Department of Public Welfare, DHS. That's who administers a long-term care. So if the decedent was over 55, then we send a notice to them, and they have 45 days to get back to us to let us know whether or not that person had some sort of benefit that was paid out for their long-term care, because that will tell us how much we have to pay back to DHS. So we are required to notify them someone passes away. And we have some estates, actually one that Hurley's helped us with. They were fantastic. We had a DHS lead in that case, so the person was in a nursing home when they passed away, and Hurley's came in and helped us actually auction off the real estate. And so what our job was is to act as the intermediary between the caseworker with the Department of Human Services and the executor. And so what we were able to do is, in that case, Misty actually provided us with some comparables about what other real estate in the area was going for so that we could get that approved by the Department of Human Services and they could sign off on that auction. And the benefit there is the house really wasn't in great shape, so we didn't have to worry about inspections or getting approvals, all of that. We could sell it as is. So that's one instance where it was actually really helpful to have Hurley's involved. They were able to do it smoothly and efficiently. So that's one example. Dates to remember when you're going through the probate process: the Rev 1500, that's the Pennsylvania inheritance tax return. So inheritance tax is something that's due when somebody passes away. It's the tax on whoever's receiving it. So if my parents pass away and they leave it to me, I'm gonna pay inheritance tax. I'll pay a rate of 4.5%. So that return is due 9 months from the date of death. You do get a discount, a 5% discount on the tax that's owed if you prepay the inheritance tax within the first 3 months, okay? Probate versus inheritance tax. A lot of times we have clients who say, well, I didn't have to probate, does inheritance tax still apply? And the answer is yes. If somebody's passed away and assets are transferring to someone as a result of death, the only thing that's exempt is life insurance, death benefit proceeds. Any other asset will be taxed at whatever the rate is based on your relationship to the person who died. So direct lineal descendants is 4.5%, siblings is 12%, and then anybody else, including nieces and nephews, are 15%. And if you're a husband and wife and you're leaving everything to your spouse, but there's a retirement account involved, you still have to file a Pennsylvania inheritance tax return, even if there's no tax that is due. You still are required to file the return. This is our inheritance tax chart. This lists the relationship and the tax rate. So we have, again, charities are exempt or government entities are exempt. Then we have spouses. So even though Pennsylvania actually used to tax the spouse, so right now it's 0%. So technically tax does apply, it's just at 0%. Now hopefully they won't change that. And then anybody who's all along your line, whether it be an ancestor or a descendant, is gonna pay at 4.5%. Siblings at 12%, and then everybody else 15%. So for example, when I'm doing my own estate planning, I have some wonderful nieces and nephews. If I wanted to leave it to them, they'd actually pay 15% tax. Okay. So property that's subject to Pennsylvania inheritance tax, any property except life insurance. Pennsylvania, starting in 2013, did carve out some exceptions or exemptions. So normally these assets would be subject to inheritance tax, but for Pennsylvania legislatures decided special exemptions. So a family farm is one of them, family business is another. So those would actually be exempt. We disclose them, but then say they're not taxable. So life insurance is not subject to tax, but annuities, retirement accounts, real estate, and personal property, which is where I kind of wanted to end it because it segues really nicely into Hurley's presentation. So a lot of times we have clients who ask, yeah, Dr. Good, did you have a question?
Well, I guess I'm confused because I thought you said that anything that had a beneficiary doesn't have to go through probate, it also gets taxed anyway?
It does. So even if you can avoid probate, you're still gonna have to pay the tax on it. So
an IRA or 401 that gets taxed?
Yes.
Period, no matter what?
Period. So you don't have to go through the probate process to get the money to the beneficiary, but it's still gonna be subject to tax.
Thank you.
Yes, yes, Dr. Sanger.
Subject to inheritance tax?
Correct.
Or to your income?
So retirement is actually taxed in two different ways. So there's inheritance tax. So that would be the rate of tax based on the date of death value. So if it's going to children, it'd be 4.5 on whatever the date of death value is. And then as they draw out that retirement, they will pay income tax on the amount they're pulling out as well. Okay. So sometimes when I meet with clients, if they have charities that want to benefit, sometimes we'll say, well, retirement's a great way to deal with charities because then it's not subject to those two taxes. Does that answer your question? Okay. So we'll have personal property, so household goods, cars, things like that people want to distribute. And a lot of times we have issues with somebody going into the house, taking care of that. How do we go about selling it? And so this is where I thought a lot of people have questions about this, and I thought, what better way to address it than to go to the experts? So we're actually gonna have Marge come up here and talk about how they handle personal property as well as real estate when someone passes away. So Marge, I'll turn it over to you. And what we'll do is any questions you're welcome to ask, and we'll make sure to address them as well, okay?
We tailor everything to our clients. Every situation is unique. There is no cookie cutter in this. Every single situation is unique. Every home is unique. All the items are unique. Every family is unique. So our key to success is to determine the client's needs and then fulfill them. We offer a standardized approach business model, but we tailor it to you. We customize it to your needs. Every situation is unique. We have a full staff here for both personal property and real estate, so that we like to be the one place that people go to rather than, I also need help with my lawn maintenance. I also need help with snow. We want to sell the house. We make all of those arrangements. We try to make it so that you don't have so many different places to go to. And then we coordinate all of the network resources that we have. Again, like with snow maintenance, lawn maintenance, cleaning if you need your house cleaned, all of those things. So one of your most valuable assets is your home. So with your home, we offer both traditional, we're realtors as well, we're real estate agents as well as auctioneers. So I'm an auctioneer, Matt's an auctioneer, Caleb's an auctioneer, but we do both. We like to offer both for our clients so that they have a little bit of choice of what they're doing with their home. So conducting auction of homes, Matt always told me, don't trust an auctioneer to sell your home if they've never sold their home themselves at auction. So I'm an auctioneer, I've sold my house at auction. Matt's the head auctioneer and owner. He has sold a few of his houses a few times at auction and several of his properties at auction. When he'll actually go and buy some properties sometimes and he sells them at auction just because he knows what's successful. And a lot of homes are, I mean, the market is hot right now, and I don't know how long that's gonna last, but we sell every type of property. We do commercial properties, residential properties, land, you name it. Some properties, of course, aren't built for doing an auction. Some properties are great for an auction. I think the best properties at auction right now are single level ranchers in Greencastle. Those sell like hotcakes. We can sell those at auction. People will competitively bid far above the list price. Some homes we can't do it at auction, and so we'll do it a different route. But these are the advantages that we find at auction. It's a quick turnaround. So these are some of the advantages of doing an auction. Quick turnaround. You know exactly when to schedule the auction. You know the seller has ultimate control over the time frame. So if you know that you're going to be going into, say, Quincy Retirement Home on August 1st, and you need your stuff out by July 15th, we can schedule it so that accordingly, so that the auction is done so that you're out by that time and everything's taken care of by the time you get into the retirement home. Ultimate price discovery mechanism. Does anyone understand what that is? So a lot of times people don't really know what their home is worth. We had a home down here in State Line, and she really didn't know what her home was worth. So we did some comps, we pulled up some comparables to see exactly what was selling in the area. So all of the numbers, everything on the computer, all of the houses selling in the area were telling us to list it at 150. Everything was selling around 150. She says, Matt, if you can get 130,000, I'll let the house go. Come day of auction, so we list the house actually for 30 days on the MLS. That's where a majority of the people will look on the computer to buy a home now. Nobody was interested. We had no calls on it, no showings, no private showings, I believe, no offers on the home. That's 30 days. Come day of auction, we had 12 people at the auction. So we listed it, I believe, at 159. She wanted 130. We sold the house for 187. That is the ultimate price discovery mechanism of an auction. Because a lot of times you just don't know what it's worth. But sometimes even the numbers tell you, all of the numbers told us to list it at 150. Everything that was like her home, exactly like it, told us to list it at 150. But we got her 187. Auctions, of course, create excitement, and that was a perfect example of it. There were only 2 bidders that really wanted the home, and they weren't going to let it go. But one person won out. Time definite. Time definite, of course, you know exactly when you're going to have your auction, when the open houses are going to be, when it's going to sell, and when it's going to settle. You guys, the seller is in control of all of the time. No contingencies or warranties. Does anyone here know what a contingency is? Do you know what a contingency is? A home contingency. Does anyone know what a home contingency is? You do? What is it?
I think it contingent upon my selling or you selling at your house before you buy mine, and that sort of loop.
Correct. In the auction industry, we call it a but. I will buy your house, but I want the roof replaced. I will buy your house, but I want the electric upgrade. I will buy your house, but I want the basement finished. So we call it but. An auction, there's no contingencies. You're selling the property as is. So even in a traditional real estate, you can see that people are selling the home as is. You'll see that note as is. But even in a traditional real estate, it's not a true as is as an auction is. They still have to meet certain things if it is a traditional real estate. They can't sell it just as is. They're still meeting certain things based on mortgage appraisal. But as an auction, we can get around that. The buyer's going to be responsible for anything that has to be done that needs to be met. Comparable commissions. We have very comparable commissions between an auction and traditional real estate. They're very close. Aggressive marketing and advertising. Where's Misty? She left. That's my aggressive marketer and administrator. She does a wonderful job. So we do a lot of non-traditional marketing that a lot of people don't see. When you put it in the MLS, because we do a lot of listings as well, where we just put it in the MLS and you're listing the home, it goes on the website and things like that. But with our auctions, there's a little bit more aggressive marketing there because we need to get as many potential bidders at that one location to bid on the home as possible in a very small amount of time. What is that? Forces buyers to be decisive. This is a great one. This is one of my favorites. Forces buyers to be decisive. We had a farm up in Shippensburg on Baltimore Road, and the gentleman was selling it. Mr. Aspers was selling his farm. He had it listed for a year and a half for $3.9 million. We found out about the property because it had been listed so long and it hadn't moved, and we asked him if we could conduct an auction. And he thought about it, but he thought, you know what, I'm not getting any interest, let's try an auction. So we marketed it. This was a large bit of land, and we marketed it for 60 days. And we ended up selling that property for $3.9 million. So the funny thing is, he was only told that the property, a gentleman had made an offer on the property prior. He made him an offer of $2 million. He told him, this is all that it's worth, this is all that I'm willing to pay. Who ended up buying that property at $3.9 million? That same gentleman who offered $2 million and said that's all it was worth. But who was bidding against him? The gentleman, the farm owner on the other side of the road. So you had one gentleman on one side of the road who wanted the farm and offered $2 million. You had another gentleman on the other side of the road that never made an offer, never had any interest, never showed any interest, but they were just waiting for Mr. Aspers to just let the farm go around $2 million. It brought them out and decided, I need to buy this farm now because it was gonna sell. So it sold for 3.9. So those are the advantages of doing a real estate at auction. Of course, we also do our traditional listing on properties. So we have several of those, not as many as our auction. We're getting more, I think, people asking us to do auctions just because the market's hot right now, than to do traditional listings. But depending upon what the property is, we'll counsel you as far as if it's a good idea or not to do a traditional listing or an auction. Coordination of services and resources. We network with a lot of people, so we can do the hauling. We don't personally do the hauling, although I've done a lot of hauling myself in this business. We used to haul everything here to the building, but if you need hauling assistance, we can contract that out. We can make those calls. If you need snow removal, lawn maintenance, anything like that, cleaning services, we contract all that out, but we're the people that, we've done so many estimates with other people. We call other people, which ones are the cheaper, which ones are good, which ones have, the clients have been good with, so we keep a list of all the people that we work with. The next step, what to do with all the stuff. And as you can see, this is what we do. So a lot of times when we come into houses, it may be extremely overwhelming. We ask that people don't empty anything out of their cupboards. We don't empty anything out of their closets, nothing out of the kitchen cupboards. Of course, empty out all of the food. But when we come into a home, we put everything online. All of our personal property auctions are online only. Everything that you see here in this building, including the car, any tractors, planes, we've sold planes, everything goes online. We have on our site alone, we have over 30,000 registered bidders. And we've had bidders all over the world. We've had motorcycles go up to Canada. We've had equipment go down to Mexico. We had an industrial sewing machine go out to Australia. So everything goes online just because we're finding that we can help the sellers a lot better as far as profits by doing it online versus a live auction. Doing the live auctions, they are few and far in between now. And I've been to a live auction recently, and it's tough because you have maybe 50 to 100 people there at your auction, whereas online you have thousands of people. You have thousands of people looking at your auctions online. And these are some of the advantages of our online auctions. Higher prices for our sellers. In-home appeal. In-home appeal meaning my saying is always, the less we touch it, the more you make. So if we come into a house and you have, a nice arrangement of stuff in a china cabinet and it looks nice there, leave it there. We can photograph it, we catalog it, we describe it. We may pull out a few things that, that might do better, not as a group, as single pieces, but it looks nice where it lays rather than in a box lot or on the floor, Buyer, for the buyer, they can bid anytime they want. They don't have to travel. I mean, we were having buyers from Virginia come up to our auctions. They don't have to travel such long distances for an item they may never even get. They're waiting there for hours, and then they get outbid, and then they just storm off, and we never see them again because they don't want to come to our auction house again.
Mother Nature wouldn't be very kind to us today if we had a public auction scheduled.
But this, and when is the best time for bidders online.
We
For
love
us,
blizzards.
We love blizzards, snowstorms, because everyone is at home, can't do anything, but they are on the computers. So we'll send notices out, and that's probably when the most bidding takes place, is during these snowstorms and blizzards. Bid on several auctions at one time. We have generally between 5 to 15 auctions going on throughout the time that are online, so that they can look through all of those. For the seller, quick turnaround time. There's no limit to what the buyer may offer. So, and we do have items where it's just you don't know what it's worth. Getting organized. First thing to do, please call us first. I think the worst situation that we come into is people like to throw out as much as they can because they feel so overwhelmed. So they just start throwing things out and just, well, I don't need that, and a lot of times we have to go dumpster diving because there's value being thrown in the dumpsters. So please call us first just to look at what you have. It's free for us to come out there and consult with us, but at least we can give you an idea of what's of value and what isn't. Tackle one room at a time. For those of you, myself included, sometimes I'll go to one room and I'm like, oh, I forgot something, and I go to another room and then I sit up working there and then I haven't finished that other room. So try to tackle one room at a time. It makes it a lot easier and a little bit more organized. Recycle, reuse, sell, or donate. There are several organizations that will take a lot of the used items. If you're in a home and you have to get rid of a lot of clothing, there's several people that will actually come to pick it up at your house for free. You can schedule it online. You just have to put on there how many bags they're going to be picking up. So Purple Heart is one of them. Salvation Army, even the Mennonite community has an organization where you can just call them and it's free for them to pick it up, and that avoids you having to take everything somewhere and physically pick things up and take it there. It's a lot of stress when you have to do that. And I know in my mom's house, my mom has 7 bedrooms and every closet is full with her clothes. She has winter clothes, summer clothes, spring clothes, fall clothes, ski suits, but every room has a walk-in closet. Every bedroom has a walk-in closet, and every closet had her stuff. My poor dad had maybe this out of the whole house, this huge house, and we had to pack a lot of clothes. And Purple Heart was wonderful. They were absolutely wonderful. They took a lot of things that we couldn't sell.